They say every woman carries two hearts, one that beats in her chest and one that grows in her womb. But what happens when the second heart refuses to form? When your body becomes a graveyard for dreams that will never breathe? I am Ngozi, and this is the story of how I became both a thief and a mother in the same desperate breath. In the town of Amaeze, weddings were celebrated with drums and dancing, but the real celebration came 9 months later when a woman fulfilled her true purpose. I had been married to Emeka for 6 years, and in those 6 years, I had attended 17 naming ceremonies. 17 times I had tied my wrapper tight and smiled while other women danced with babies on their backs. 17 times I had returned home to an empty mat and an emptier womb. My mother-in-law, Mama Nena, lived in the boys' quarters behind our main house, a choice she made so she could keep watch over her son's investment, as she called it. Every morning, she would inspect my waist to see if it had thickened. Every afternoon, she would comment on my useless body. Every evening, she would remind Emeka that his friends had 3, 4, even 5 children. A woman without a child is like a tree without fruit, she would say, loud enough for the entire street to hear. Tell me, Emeka, why are you watering a dead stump? Emeka was different from other men. He worked as a building contractor and came home tired, covered in cement dust, but he never raised his voice at me. He would simply hold my hand and say, "Patience, Ngozi, God's time is the best." But patience has an expiration date. One evening, Mama Nena called a family meeting. She invited Emeka's 3 brothers, their wives, and the family elders. I was made to sit in the center like a criminal awaiting judgment. "This woman has wasted 6 years of my son's life," Mama Nena announced, her voice dripping with contempt. "I have consulted 3 different prayer houses. They all said the same thing. Her womb is locked by spiritual padlock. I am giving Emeka 1 month to take a second wife, or I will find one myself." The room fell silent. I looked at Emeka, pleading with my eyes, but he stared at the floor. "1 month," Mama Nena repeated. 30 days. If not, I will personally bring Amaeze from my village. She is young, her hips are wide, and she is ready. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan going round and round. Emeka's breathing was heavy beside me, but I knew he wasn't sleeping. "Ngozi," he finally whispered, "I don't want another wife, but my mother, the family, the pressure." "I understand," I said, even though understanding felt like swallowing broken glass. "Give me time," he pleaded. "I'll talk to her. I'll make her understand." But we both knew talk would not satisfy Mama Nena. Only a baby would. Desperation changes people. It turns the rational into the reckless. The next day, I went to the market and bought bags of old clothes from the second-hand seller. I came home and began my deception, carefully wrapping layers around my belly, studying myself in the mirror until the swell looked natural. For 3 days, I practiced walking, holding my back, wincing at the right moments. Then, on the 4th day, I went to work at the pharmacy where I was a sales attendant, and I collapsed. My co-workers rushed me to the clinic next door. The nurse, an elderly woman named Sister Bokula, checked my pulse and asked me questions. "When last did you see your period?" I can't remember," I lied. "Maybe 2 months." "And you've been feeling dizzy?" "Yes, sister. Vomiting in the mornings?" "Every day," I lied again. Sister Bokula smiled knowingly. "My dear, I think you are pregnant, but let's confirm." My heart nearly stopped. A test would expose everything. "Sister," I said quickly, gripping her hand, "please, I cannot do the test here. My mother-in-law has been waiting for this news for so long. I want to surprise her with a scanned photo, not just a test strip. Can you please just write me a note confirming pregnancy symptoms? I'll go for the big hospital in town for the scan." Sister Bukula's face softened.
Ah, you want to do it properly. That's good. Okay, I'll write you a note confirming pregnancy symptoms, but you must go for proper testing, you hear? Yes, sister, thank you. She wrote the letter on clinic headline and I clutched it like a visa to heaven. That evening, I returned home with my padded stomach more pronounced. I walked slowly, one hand on my belly, one on my back. Emeka nearly dropped his phone when he saw me. Ngozi, what's wrong? Why are you walking like that? I handed him the letter from Sister Bokula. He read it once, twice, 3 times. Then he looked at my stomach, then at my face. Ngozi, are you? Yes, I whispered. Tears streaming down my face, real tears, because even though it was a lie, the emotion was real. I'm pregnant. He lifted me off my feet, spinning me around, laughing and crying simultaneously. Thank you, Jesus, thank you. Mama, Mama Nena. His mother came running from the boys' quarters, her wrapper flying behind her. What is it? What happened? Mama, Ngozi is pregnant. For the first time in 6 years, Mama Nena looked at me with something other than contempt. She snatched the letter from Emeka, read it, then circled me slowly, examining my stomach. How many months? She asked suspiciously. Maybe 2 months, I said. I wasn't sure before, but today I collapsed at work. Mama Nena's eyes narrowed. You will go for a scan tomorrow. I will take you myself. My blood turned cold. Mama, please, the doctor said it's too early for scan. The baby is still too small. We should wait till 3 months. Nonsense. I want to see proof. Mama, please, Emeka intervened. Let's not stress her. You know stress is bad for pregnancy. We'll go for the scan when the time is right. Mama Nena grudgingly agreed, but I saw the suspicion lingering in her eyes. That night, Emeka tried to hold me in bed, his hand moving to my stomach. No, I said sharply, pushing his hand away. He looked hurt. Ngozi, what's wrong? I read that in the first trimester, intimacy can cause miscarriage. We need to be careful, very careful. It was another lie piled on top of the first. Okay, Emeka said softly. I'll understand. I'll be patient. The weeks crawled like wounded animals. Every 7 days, I added more padding. I bought maternity clothes that could hide the deception. I researched pregnancy symptoms online and acted them out perfectly. Nausea, food cravings, mood swings, tiredness. The neighborhood celebrated. Women brought gifts. The church prayed over me. Mama Nena finally smiled. But inside, I was unraveling. By the 5th month, the pressure to go for a scan became unbearable. Mama Nena insisted. Emeka's sisters insisted. Even Sister Bokula from the clinic kept asking when I would come for proper antenatal care. I had 2 options, confess the truth or find a real baby. I chose the latter. One sleepless night, I remember the story my aunt told me. She spoke of a woman from her village who couldn't conceive, so she traveled to Ajegunle in Lagos, a place known for illegal baby adoptions. Women who got pregnant out of wedlock would sell their babies to desperate couples. It was dangerous, illegal, and morally questionable. But I was past morality. I was drowning and I needed a lifeline. I told Emeka I was going to visit my sick mother in the village for a week. He didn't want me traveling in my condition, but I insisted. Instead, I took a bus to Lagos. Ajegunle was exactly as terrifying as I had imagined. Narrow streets, open gutters, faces hardened by poverty. I asked around carefully, using coded language, until someone directed me to a woman called Mama Ijiro. She lived in a cramped 1-room apartment that smelt of boiled beans and desperation. She was massive, with tribal marks on her cheeks and eyes that calculated your worth before you even spoke. You want a baby? She asked bluntly. Yes, ma. Boy or girl? Girl. Cash or transfer? Cash. She named a price that made my stomach turn. All of Emeka's savings and more. I had stolen money from his business account, withdrawn loan from my cooperative, borrowed from friends with flimsy excuses. Come back in 2 weeks, Mama Ijiro said. I will have one for you. Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I returned to Amaeze and continued the charade, my stomach now heavily padded to appear 7 months pregnant. When I returned to Lagos, Mama Ejiro handed me a baby girl wrapped in a faded shawl. She was tiny, maybe a few days old, her eyes barely open. "Where did she come from?" I asked. "You don't ask questions," Mama Ejiro replied coldly. "You want baby, you have baby. That's all." I took the child, paid the blood money, and left. On the bus ride back to Amaeze, I stared at the sleeping infant in my arms. She was real, warm, breathing, someone's daughter, now mine through theft and deception. I named her Chioma in my heart. God is good, even though God had nothing to do with this sin. When I arrived in Amaeze, I didn't go home. Instead, I went to a small guest house on the outskirts of town. I called Emeka. My voice panicked. "Emeka, come quickly. The baby is coming." "What? Where are you?" "Near the motor park. The labor started on the bus. Please hurry." He arrived with his mother and half the neighborhood. I was lying on the guest house bed, Chioma wrapped in my wrapper, both of us smeared with water and dirt to look like a traumatic delivery. "Oh my God, Ngozi, you gave birth here? Alone?" The bus conductor's wife helped me. I lied breathlessly. She used to be a midwife. She left immediately. I didn't even get her name. Mama Nena grabbed the baby and examined her critically. For a terrifying moment, I thought she knew. But then she smiled. A real, genuine smile. "She's beautiful," she whispered. "My granddaughter." Emeka wept, holding Chioma as if she were made of glass. That night, we returned home as heroes. The street erupted in celebration. Food, drinks, music. I had done it. I had deceived everyone. But victories built on lies are houses built on sand. Chioma grew into a healthy, normal child. No supernatural strangeness, no mysterious occurrences, just a regular little girl who loved Indomie and cartoons. But my guilt grew with her. Every time she called me Mama, I felt the word pierce my heart. Every time Emeka kissed her forehead, I felt like a thief in my own home. Every time Mama Nena boasted about her granddaughter, I felt the weight of my deception crushing me. When Chioma turned 4, something happened that shattered my fragile peace. A woman came to our house, a young lady, thin and haunted-looking, with tribal marks on her cheeks just like Mama Ejiro. "I'm looking for my daughter," she said quietly. My heart stopped. "Who are you?" Mama Nena demanded. The woman's eyes locked onto Chioma, who was playing in the compound. Tears began streaming down her face. "My name is Blessing. 4 years ago, I was raped by my uncle. I got pregnant. I was 16. My family threw me out. A woman in Lagos said she would help me give birth and find the baby a good home. But she stole my baby and sold her." The air became thick and suffocating. "That woman is in police custody now," Blessing continued, her voice shaking. "She confessed to selling over 20 babies. She gave the police names and addresses of buyers. Your name was on the list." Emeka looked at me, confusion in his eyes. "Ngozi, what is she talking about?" I couldn't speak. My mouth opened but no sound came out. "That's my daughter," Blessing said, pointing at Chioma. "I know her. She has a birthmark on her left shoulder blade, a mark shaped like a crescent moon." "That's ridiculous," Mama Nena shouted. "My daughter-in-law gave birth to this child. We were there." "Check her shoulder," Blessing said simply. Emeka walked slowly to Chioma and lifted her dress. There, on her left shoulder blade, was the birthmark, a perfect crescent moon. He turned to me, and the betrayal in his eyes destroyed me. "Ngozi, tell me this isn't true." The truth came pouring out like poison from a wound. The fake pregnancy, the padding, the trip to Lagos, the money, everything. With each word, Emeka's face changed from shock to hurt to something I couldn't recognize. When I finished, the silence was deafening. "Get out," he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "Emeka, please, get out of my house." I had never heard him yell before. The sound shattered something inside me. Mama Nena stood frozen, tears running down her face. Chioma too young to understand, started crying. Blessing stepped forward. "I don't want to destroy your home, but that's my child. I'm her mother." "No," I sobbed, falling to my knees. "I raised her. I fed her. I loved her. I am her mother." "You're a thief," Blessing said, not with anger, but with a sadness that cut deeper than rage. The police came. There were investigations, DNA tests, court hearings. The results confirmed what we already knew. Chioma was Blessing's biological daughter. I was charged with child trafficking and fraud. Emeka divorced me while I was in prison awaiting trial. Mama and Nena testified against me in court, her hatred finally justified. I served 3 years in prison. 3 years of concrete walls and iron bars. 3 years of watching other inmates with their children doing visiting hours while I had no one. 3 years of replaying every decision, every lie, every stolen moment. When I was released, I was 35 years old, divorced, disgraced, and completely alone. I moved to a different state, changed my name, and started over as a housemaid. I avoided relationships, I avoided friendships, I avoided anything that required trust because I had proven I couldn't be trusted. But life, in its strange way, had one final twist for me. 2 years after my release, while working as a cleaner in a small hospital, I met Dr. Chide. He was a widower, a pediatrician who had lost his wife during childbirth. He was kind, quiet, and carried his own grief like a second shadow. At first, he barely noticed me. I was just the woman who mopped the floors of his clinic every evening. But one night, he found me crying in the supply closet. It was Chioma's birthday. She would have been 7. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. "Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'll get back to work." But he didn't leave. He sat down on an overturned bucket beside me. "You don't have to apologize for grief." Something about his voice, the understanding in it, broke down my walls. I started talking, not about my past, not yet, just about loss, about missing someone, about living with regret. He listened, and then he shared his own story, how he blamed himself for his wife's death, how he threw himself into work to avoid the empty house, how some days he forgot to eat because eating alone felt like punishment. That night, we became something more than doctor and cleaner. We became 2 people who understood pain. Over the next year, our friendship grew slowly, carefully. He would bring extra lunch and accidentally leave it in the break room where I worked. I would leave his office spotlessly clean with a small flower from the hospital garden on his desk. We never spoke about it, but the gestures said everything. One evening, he asked me to have dinner with him. Real dinner, not leftovers in the break room. "Dr. Chide, I'm just a cleaner. People will talk." "Let them talk," he said simply. "I'm asking you, Ngozi, not your job title." During that dinner, he asked about my past. Really asked why I had no family, why I lived alone, why I sometimes looked at the children in the pediatric ward with such profound sadness. I knew this was the moment. Tell him the truth and lose him, or lie again and repeat the same cycle. I chose truth.
I told him everything. The fake pregnancy, the padding, Lagos, Mama Ijiro, the baby trafficking, Chioma, Blessing, the trial, the prison, every shameful, ugly detail. When I finished, I couldn't look at him.
I waited for the disgust, the rejection, the inevitable goodbye. Instead, he reached across the table and held my hand. "Thank you for trusting me with this," he said quietly. You're not leaving?" "Ngozi, I'm a pediatrician. Do you know how many children I see suffering because of poverty, abuse, desperation? What you did was wrong, but I see why you did it, and I see who you've become after paying for it." Tears streamed down my face. "I don't deserve forgiveness." "Maybe not," he said, "but you deserve a chance to be better. We all do." It took another year before he proposed. He didn't rush me. He understood that I needed time to believe I could be loved despite my past, that I wasn't still the woman who stole a child out of desperation. We married in a small ceremony with just 5 people present. No fanfare, no elaborate celebration, just 2 broken people who had found grace in each other's scars. And then, at 38 years old, after everything I had been through, my body decided to do what it had refused to do for decades. I got pregnant, naturally, miraculously. The pregnancy was difficult. High blood pressure, constant fatigue, fears that my body would betray me one last time. But Dr. Chidi held my hand through every appointment, every scare, every tear. 9 months later, I gave birth to a baby girl. She was small and wrinkled and absolutely perfect. As I held her for the first time, I thought about Chioma, now 8 years old, living with her real mother, Blessing. I thought about the lies, the lees, the prison, the pain. "What shall we call her?" Dr. Chidi asked, stroking the baby's tiny fingers. I looked into my daughter's face, my real daughter, born from my body, paid for with years of suffering and redemption. "Amarachi," I whispered, "God's grace." Because if I had learned anything from my journey through lies, theft, prison, and loss, it was this: grace is not the absence of consequences. Grace is the presence of hope, even after you've paid for your sins. Outside the hospital window, rain began to fall, soft, cleansing, washing the streets clean. And somewhere in another state, I hoped Chioma was happy. I hoped Blessing was holding her close. I hoped they had both found peace. As for me, I finally understood the difference between taking what you want and receiving what you are giving. One destroys you, the other saves you. But here's the question that haunts me still, the one I ask myself every single day as I hold Amarachi in my arms. If Chioma, the child I raised for 4 years, the one who called me mama, the one I went to prison for, if she came to my door today as a 12-year-old girl and asked, "Why did you steal me? Did you ever really love me?" What should I tell her? That I loved her so much it destroyed my life? Or that I loved myself more and she was just the price I was willing to pay? Tell me in the comments, if you were Chioma, could you ever forgive a woman like me? Or are some sins too deep for redemption?
Thank you for watching. Do well to hit the subscribe button, comment, like, and share for more educating and interesting stories. Bye.